Called it, and over to you. There we go.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Once again, it's a real pleasure to be here among friends, to be among friends, Rabbi Jeffrey, Stephen, and also to once again compliment the Edgeware community and the support that they give for the Norwood home, and have a rota of people. I think all are they all Edgeware United?
Yeah.
Fantastic, it's really fantastic. So I take that opportunity. It's lovely to be here with you. What does the word? Let's think about Purim for a moment, a few moments. What does the word Purim mean? Not a difficult one. Thank you. Lottery. So I thought what we talk a little bit about is about gambling. Right, is that right? A bit about gambling. Now I don't have to do a lot of spielers here in Edgeware. The question is, can you take the building fund, the short building fund, and put it on the 12-15 at Cheltenham? That is the question we're going to look at. Okay,
what's the name of the horse?
Okay. If anything happens, I want to cut. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, gambling. The Mishnah says that somebody who rolls dice, professional rolls dice, is invalid as a witness. That's one starting point. Likewise, it's considered a generic term. The Mishnah also talks about someone who races pigeons. I don't know how they still do that these days, but anyway, pigeon racing is an invalid witness. And this is taken by Maimonides as a generic term for anyone involved in any kind of gambling, or somebody who is an invalid witness. The question is why. Yeah, that's why I'm asking everybody why. Anyone have a suggestion? Unreliable. Why?
They take risks.
Yeah. Right. People take risks. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it doesn't offend common sense. So let's look into it a little bit more. The Talmud, the Gemara, explaining the Mishnah, gives two reasons. Number one. One of the reasons touches let's see. One of the reasons is a bit of a technical reason, but it's called that someone who is involved in gambling, then the losing party doesn't really enter the bet with a thought that they're going to lose. So therefore, they resent the fact that they've got to hand the money over. And therefore, the person who acquires the money, or we could say the bookmaker, I suppose, the bookmaker hasn't really acquired the money in a proper way. A little bit technical, isn't it? For those in the trade, called asmachta, doesn't matter. Asmachta literally means like it's leaning. But in other words, I haven't acquired the money properly. You could say ill-gotten gain in some ways, but not that. And it's considered gezel de rabbanon. It's considered a theft in a way, a rabbinical kind of theft. It's not an outright theft that you go into somebody, you take somebody else's pen or you take somebody else's property, but it's a sort of a derivative of that. That's one reason. Another reason, which maybe was touching on by our gents before, possibly, is that because somebody who's involved in gambling is not contributing to the well-being of society. The issue of Shalom. They're not contributing to the well-being of society, and they're just sitting there betting or whatever, and they're not building anything. They're not making anything. They're not offering a positive professional service. In that way, they pay tax, maybe. I suppose maybe you could say that. So that's who, the gambler or the one who or the casino pays tax. You're saying. Who are you thinking? Whoever said that?
It was Brian said it.
Brian, yeah.
It depends what sort of gambling it is. If it's in a casino, and it's this casino pays tax.
Right.
And you also see some is betting duty.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, you could actually, it's a little bit controversial in terms of community relations, but you could say, well, maybe a Jewish person shouldn't be involved in gambling, but there's no harm to have a string of casinos. There was a famous group of casinos which were not good casinos, betting shops, which were Jewishly owned. You could yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, you could say that. I don't know, but
hedge betting, money traders.
Right, money traders. Now, do we say that, or just to develop it a little bit, so on the stock market? Do we say that on the stock market is gambling as well? What, is there a difference, or not? Is there a difference? What are you doing when you buy shares? What are you doing essentially?
Speculating.
You're taking a risk. Well, and what if somebody's in business? What are they doing? They're also, in a sense, taking a risk. So, what might be the difference?
level of expertise.
The level of expertise, right? Okay, and I suppose we could say the level of expertise involved and the level of risk involved. So we could say that being involved in the stock market, you're buying part of a company or a second-hand trade. I'm not a financier, but you're buying a part of a company, a second-hand of shares, and so you're investing. But you could say investing in, is it derivatives or whatever, or something which is extremely risky. You could say maybe that might be frowned upon because that's already very different, or I don't know, or something highly speculative. So you could say maybe that there is a difference there. But taking a risk is not necessarily. We do that all the time. We take a risk and we cross the road. I mean, we do. So that's not necessarily. That's not inherently necessarily wrong, but it's a very interesting aspect of the conversation. Okay. Now let's try and bring this, because I know let's try and bring this to halacha. Good starting place is Maimonides, Rambam, because he wrote about a whole gamut of Jewish law. And it's very interesting about what he says was in one place, he picks up on one view, on one of the two views we mentioned. He says that the reason that somebody is forbidden to gamble is because of you don't acquire the winnings properly. Gezel Drabonon, rabbinic theft. The person who loses isn't fully happy to give the money over. But in another place, he says that it's because of contributing to society. It's because somebody who's gambling is not contributing to society. Now, can we think a little bit? What might be the difference between these two reasons? I've jumped a little bit, but what might be the difference between these two reasons? I'm sure somebody will come up with a difference. So I'll just let people ponder. What situation could be a difference if someone's gambling and that and then the other person doesn't have a will to give the money over, and on the other hand, he's exempt. He's not contributing to society. Could there be a situation where somebody who's gambling is contributing to society?
Tony Blue.
Sorry?
Tony Blue.
Lottery, okay, yeah, that's another whole question. We'll talk about the lottery in a moment.
Betting and he's getting loads of money to Brighton and all that.
Oh, right, okay, is that how he's made his money? Okay.
He also gave money to a shul. They're allowed to send gamblers money.
Yeah, they have a lot of money to Brighton Shul. Yeah, it's true. That's true. That's true. Well, we said about gambling. What kind of gambler could we sort of narrow it down a little bit more? Could we say that all gamblers could be invalid witnesses, or could we possibly make a distinction?
There's a distinction
Go
between somebody who gambles all the time,
right,
and somebody who buys a ticket. One ticket,
What's your name, sir?
Elia.
Everyone listen to Elia. So that's right. That's what I was thinking of. Somebody whose occupation, full-time occupation is gambling.
Yeah.
Maybe he's could be an invalid witness. But somebody who maybe is I don't know, has a profession in the evening, goes to the casino, that probably could be a different scenario. So we could see a difference there. Now, looking at the law codes, very, very simply speaking, it seems that the Shulchan Aruch, the Jewish law code, Yosef Karo, who's mainly comes from the Sephardi tradition, that he would outlaw gambling completely. So much so that when it comes to a lottery, he would also say that a lottery, well, I'm putting words in his mouth in a sense, but just want to explain a little bit more, that we can see that tradition would say that gambling completely would be forbidden in all forms. But the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, who just generally takes the Ashkenazi tradition from Poland, could leave the door open for gambling under certain circumstances. And it's very interesting that when it comes to the lottery, for example, that two of our more recent authorities, one of them still alive actually, one of them just celebrated his 100th birthday, somebody called Rabbi Moshe Sternbuch in Jerusalem, who was actually educated in England. He said that when it comes to lottery, there's not a problem to buy a lottery ticket. He said that's not a problem. But on the other hand, the late Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, the great Sephardi rabbi, tremendous Sephardi rabbi, died of, I don't know, maybe in the 90s, I can't remember, said that it's forbidden to buy a lottery ticket. Can't buy a lottery ticket. In Israel, he was saying the Mifal HaPayis, which is like the lottery Israel, you cannot buy lottery tickets, it's forbidden for Sephardim. And he says it's forbidden for Ashkenazim. And Rab Moshe Sternbuch says it's permitted for Ashkenazim and for Sephardim. Anyway, so a little bit of I don't know if one was a narrow one there. Then. Right, so let's have a little bit of a thought as to why gambling should be so reprehensible. Why in the tradition should gambling be so frowned upon? What kind of issue? What kind of steer in terms of our outlook that it should be? What why might the rabbis frown upon it? Go on.
Destroy society.
Sorry?
Destroy society.
Why did it destroy society?
People they get into debt.
Right, people get into debt. Addiction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't underestimate the problem of addiction. I wouldn't also underestimate the problem of addiction in all Jewish circles, or even Orthodox circles. There could be a problem of addiction. Absolutely. So that's a real no-no. Thank you. Any others? Any other points?
Well, this is a true story. There was somebody who was doing so much gambling that one day the family were waiting for him to come home. And he didn't come home. You run a shop, you go home to eat lunch and so on. And then someone went to the shop, they found him hanging. He hanged himself. He gambled so much, he couldn't pay committed suicide.
It's like a vicious circle. And if you're playing against a book, is it like bookmakers, then you can't win. If you keep gambling, you can't win because the way the odds are stacked, from what I understand, you can't beat the book. So okay, so there's that kind of danger. What about the kind of mixing with the kind of people who are gambling? Could that possibly be an issue?
Yeah,
And then mixing the wrong circles.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Because we have in the literature late sanut. People are scoffers. Moshav leitzim, thinks the fathers. People who sit in the company of scoffers. They're not doing anything. They as you say, they're not trustworthy. That's really the wrong milieu for Jewish people to be in. We should be like, as a parasha says, kadoshim tiyu. We should be holy. We should be trying to live in a holy way of life. So even if you could say in theory gambling was allowed, as there's a famous comment from Nachmanides on that particular parasha, we've got to be living a holy way of life, not be a low life with the permission of the Torah, in theory, kind of. That's right. Another concept that people tell me, please, has anyone heard of the concept of Bal Tashchit? What does that mean?
Not being wasted.
Right. If you've got resources and you're going to lose them by doing that, you're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to look after them, look after your family, or even if your person lives alone, look after themselves and do something constructive with those. So Bal Tashchit could also be an issue. And what about the idea of the fact that we all know nobody gets younger, and apart from the people looking around the table here, looking younger since last time I came, especially Rabbi Jeffrey. What about the fact of we're all here for a certain duration on planet Earth, and what are we supposed to do with that time? Be productive, be useful, and not be involved in Bittles man, not involved, just waste our time. That's not to say that we can't engage in leisure. Not that we can't, but we must engage in leisure. We all need to turn off. We all need to chill out. We all need to relax. We find different things that we all like to do, I'm sure. They should be in a positive way, but not to get us. Gambling must get a person more stressed. And so that should be. And also the concept in Judaism of simply of labour, of work, of hard work. Psalms says that we're going to enjoy and benefit the work of our palms, of our hands, of labour in different ways. So actually working and being productive and being engaged. We all know, I think, all of those who enjoy work, then that we'll understand that and brings a sense of fulfilment. Obviously, there's got to be a balance as well, and we can even take it to the nth degree of playing dreidel on Hanukkah. There's some authorities that criticised playing dreidel on Hanukkah. Not if you're playing with chocolate money, I imagine. I don't suppose that's too much of an infraction of Jewish law. We can't ban everything, but people were playing. We try to, yeah. But people are playing with money. Then maybe that's the wrong way of going about. That's a kind of a slippery slope that we should kind of do. So our recommendation coming from the Edgeware Tuesday morning Torah and Learn thing is to be involved in activities, be involved in Torah, how wonderful it is, be involved in different sorts of leisure. There's no problem with that, and enjoy them. And it's a bit like the people who say, do we eat to live or live to eat? You know, we eat to live. In other words, we do to live, and to live what is a Torah way of life, a good way of life, a positive way of life, a life of which benefits ourselves and our families and our community.
Thank you very much. So on the basis of that talk, we're going to start the Edgware Poker Club starting between Mincha and Mar of this evening.
A quick question for you. Are you saying the Brighton and Hove Jewish community were wrong to accept 20 million from a gambler to build a shul?
That might depend on the discussion that we had about that between the Ashkenazi authorities and the Sephardi authorities. So that might, it's an interesting question.
£20 less for gambling.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Thank you very much. Just to say to those on Zoom, before I switch off, next Tuesday is Purim, and we're having a special breakfast and learn on Purim with guest speaker Rabbi Dr. Rafi Zaram from LSJS, and you need to try and book your places online on the shul website, so we have an idea of numbers. That'll be after the second Purim, after the second Megillah reading, after Shachrit at 8 o'clock. To be around 9:30.
Thank you for joining everyone on Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Sylvia, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi Stanley, for that, and I will switch off the Zoom, and then we'll do the what's the name?